Hey, we've got a special treat today. My friend Darren Key is with us. He is the CEO of Christian Financial Resources, CFR. And if you picked up one of the books we mentioned last week, The Quest, you'll notice his name is the name at the bottom. He's the author of the book, and he is here with us today. I get to interview him. And that's one of the things that you talk about in your book is leaving a legacy, defining and deciding who we want to be at the end and beyond that. And years ago, my wife and I were blessed. The church that we were at before coming here was a partner church of CFR, and because of that, CFR hosts legacy planning seminars. We participated in one and had a trust created for us. It's a free thing, which is worth thousands of dollars, and especially back then, we were making even less, and man, that was a huge gift to us. So I know that the beauty of having that, just the peace of mind of knowing that all those pieces are taken care of, and being able to know that after we're gone, we're still able to bless, we're still able to do some really cool things. Now, because OCC is a partner church, we're hosting one of those seminars here, November 20th, 6:30 p.m. right here, free for you, and that's a great thing. My wife and I will actually be there because, well, we're in a different state, our kids are in a little bit different season, and we're at a different church now, and we want to leave the blessing to you.
That's exactly right. That's a great thing that we do for our partner churches, because what I realized as I traveled the country, I found all these people that just had never got around to doing that legacy plan. And so, I love history, and one of my favorite history times to read about is the Gilded Age. One of the stories that did not make the book, that I couldn't work in there, probably in the next one, but it's the story of the Vanderbilts. How many of you have ever been to the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina or the Breakers in Newport, Rhode Island? Either one of those two? A lot of you. Okay, cool. Amazing place. If you've never been there, you need to go there, experience them. So Cornelius Vanderbilt.
It's a nice little cabin.
Yeah, a nice little cabin if you're there, which I hear at Christmas. It's really beautiful. I've never been there at Christmas. But Cornelius Vanderbilt was a railroad tycoon that died in 1877 with a net worth to his heirs that would have been worth in today's dollars over $300 billion. Now, what's crazy is within 50 years, basically that family net worth was almost gone. And it wasn't because he gave it away. For me, that is staggering to imagine. And there's a great quote in a newspaper written at that time. It said, "The Vanderbilt case is an impressive lesson in the folly of attempting to found a family upon no better basis than the possession of money." What I find, many people, they don't have a legacy plan. Some need to update their legacy plan, and others need to completely reconsider the legacy plan that they have right now. So that's why I'd say take advantage of that, because we invested as a ministry a lot of money to be able to make that happen for people in our partner churches. I mentioned earlier the Methodist founder, John Wesley. Now, John Wesley, he also actually made a good living during his life, although nothing like Cornelius Vanderbilt. But it's been said that when John Wesley was carried to his grave, he left behind a good library of books, a well-worn preacher outfit, and 135,000 members and 541 preachers of the Methodist Church. It's quite a legacy. Now, generations later, some of those future members that started their spiritual journey in that group of churches included my mom's side of the family that ultimately got us to a Christian church in Kansas. And now, the legacy is I get to lead a financial ministry that on a typical weekend, from the projects that we funded, over 400,000 people attend those churches. So I think John Wesley had a pretty good legacy, and I'm just only one little piece of that legacy. Pretty cool to think about.
That's awesome, and that's awesome. Well, you think of legacy, and we have those as individuals, but also as a ministry. CFR, the ministry that you now are privileged to lead, has been just impacting families for decades now, 4 decades. You weren't leading it when they started back in 1980?
No, I was 8 years old, so no, I was not the founder.
Yeah, and I was just a couple years behind you, but you've been with them for years and leading them for years and impacting so many families and individuals. Tell us how we can join in the mission with you.
Yeah, so obviously, hopefully all of you know our ministry is the ministry that years ago we refinanced your bank loan to lower the rate as we're a nonprofit, to free up those dollars so that this church could use it for ministry and missions rather than paying some bank interest. That's what we get passionate about doing.
Yeah, and that's such an important thing for you to know, because when the church originally got its loan, it was through a bank. And when you talk to a bank about, hey, how are you going to fund this thing? And your response is, God will provide. Most banks don't get excited about that answer, right? Like, go try and get a loan and just like, well, how's this going to, well, God's going to provide. That's how.
Yeah, and you guys were lucky you could, 'cause some churches, they just can't. And so what's cool for us is we only do loans to ministries. And so in 42 years, we've never had a foreclosure on a ministry. We know what we're doing. We know how to help churches raise money through our legacy plans, through our campaigns, and lots of other things. But what we try to do at CFR, though, is obviously I don't have a magic money tree in Orlando to make that happen. We try to encourage families and businesses. We try to be their guides to help them earn a little bit more maybe on your savings, but also have the satisfaction to know that your dollars are being used to loan out to churches like OCC. And I got to say thank you, because we already have several families that over the years have partnered with us, and we can't do what we do. I can't be here and doing all these things without you. So if you're one of those that's moved over some savings to CFR, thank you. Please come say hello after service, because I always love meeting our partners. If you're not, I would love to have you join with us in some way. There are 4 ways you can do that. First is for everyone. We teach at our ministry, it is wise for every family and every business to have that 6-month emergency fund. So you can open up a ready access savings at CFR. You can link it to whoever your local bank checking account is. You get to earn 2.5%. You get to know you're funding all these hundreds of churches. And so we think that's a really great way to do that. The second is just for some people. We find some people, they've got more than that level of savings. Maybe they even have an old retirement account from a job they left and it's not earning much. So they want to get a higher rate. So they park it in one of our certificates. They'll earn, right now it's 3.1 to 3.7%. But they get to know their funding ministry and changing lives, and they kind of get to exit the roller coaster of the stock market. The third way is just for a few people. For some of you, this is the whole thing you need to hear about today. It's going to help save you some money. It's for families that give away more than $10,000 a year to ministries. You can open up what's called a giving fund. It's a donor advised fund. The way to think about it in your mind is it's like a charity checking account. You would do all your giving to OCC plus any other ministries and charities that you support. There are some massive tax advantages by doing giving through a donor advised fund, through a giving fund. And so one of the things that I always try to teach people when I'm out in churches is this idea of friends don't let friends give cash unless that's all they have. A lot of families in our church that are high capacity families make the mistake of doing their giving out of their checking account because that's all they've ever been taught. The reality is they should be giving appreciated assets like stock or crypto or things like that into a giving fund and then use it from there to give more money away. And then the final way is just for a few people, it's for retirees. You can open up what's called a charitable gift annuity, get a fixed rate, 5-9%. You get it for as long as you live. You leave a legacy then to ministry when you pass away. But after service, please come see Shane or I at the table. We'd love to give you a packet. We'd love to have more of you be involved. You can text CFR to the number on the screen too, and Shane will follow up with you next week.
Yeah. Well, Darren, I appreciate your wisdom. I mean, there's so much here, right? And God's word speaks to every piece of this. And that's what's beautiful. Like you mentioned earlier, God's word, thousands of years old, and still as relevant today as it's ever been. And so we use that as our yellow brick road. We use that as our guide. And I thank you for this. The gift to us is putting that down on paper and sharing that wisdom with us in an easy to access way. So as people read this, as we wrap up today, just curious for you, what you want them to walk away with after reading your book.
Yeah, so we all have to have our life mission. You know, when I graduated Bible college in Kansas, I preached for 3 years, a little rural church, and I realized I'll let the preaching go to the Fitzes of the world. I felt like finance and ministry was where God was really calling me, which is why I came out here to Louisville. But I have a life mission verse, and for me, it's 1 Timothy 6:17-19. I think it's why God put me here on this earth. I've been doing this for over 25 years. It says, teach those who are rich in this world, which is everybody in this room probably because you live in America, you're probably in that category, not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. Tell them to use their money to do good. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will be storing up their treasure as a good foundation for the future so that they may experience true life. So I've got to sign a lot of books, traveling the country, doing this each weekend. And every time I do that, I write a little acrostic in there, me for G. And what it stands for is it's manage everything for God. I would love, you ask what I want to see. I want to see every person being strategic with whatever God has entrusted to them, whether that be a little or a lot, to make an eternal difference. At a minimum, I hope that everybody that reads the book is going to take at least one step on their stewardship quest. If you do, please send me an email. My email is at the end of the book. I can tell you as an author, sometimes you spend your time toiling over the words. You wonder, is anything going to matter? It's been so fulfilling for me to get those written in emails of people saying, man, now I've started my giving journey. Now I'm doing my legacy plan. Now I'm getting out of debt. And to know I had a small part to play in that, it's really cool. But what I ultimately want to see is the same thing for every one of us. We're going to stand before the creator of all things one day, and we want to hear him say, well done, good and faithful servant.
That's what it's all about, man.